Welcome back, Major General Lincoln Ogunewe as a former military officer and also the governorship candidate for the Action Alliance. Good morning and thank you for joining us on the program today. Okay, General, I hope you can hear us. Can you hear us?
I can hear you very well.
Okay, nice. So, so let's get down to this. How is your campaign going on at the moment?
I'm in the last lap of the campaign and it's going on very, very well. The momentum is gathering and everything is okay.
Okay, so what is this we hear about contentions of your candidature? Some saying that no, you are not the candidate of AA, that you belong to a group that has been sacked by the court, and so they don't know what is going on and why you call yourself the candidate.
That issue has been settled and settled for good. Any other thing about it, I consider it as propaganda. I am the candidate of Action Alliance, and my name has been uploaded and nothing has happened to it. So I am the authentic candidate of Action Alliance.
Okay, so the elections will be going on this weekend. And well, you say your name has been uploaded, even though they say they're going to sue the commission for contempt because they are not adhering to that. But hopefully that will be sorted. But right now, there are those who say that, well, you are not a front runner in the first instance, and so they don't consider you a threat to unseating or stopping any other contestants from getting that position.
You hear a lot of talks in politics. You hear a lot of propaganda, and it's very good for people to have this kind of impression that I'm not a frontliner. But what I have to tell you that I brought a kind of momentum into Action Alliance, and that momentum has made me to be a frontliner. I'm fully on the ground in Imo State, and Action Alliance is fully on the ground. And
okay,
we are doing very well.
Well, they said that you initially wanted to be the Labour Party candidate, but that didn't work out, and so you ended up, and that's how you ended up with AA.
That issue is past, and I would like to revisit it. It's gone and it's gone.
So are you still getting the support then of those who are traditional supporters of Labour Party as a result of the P2B factor? How is that going to happen when you're now in AA?
I'm getting massive support from Imolites, irrespective of parties. I'm the man on the ground and the man that have been moving about, making the necessary contacts, making the necessary, going around making the necessary contacts, meetings, rallies, and conversation. And I know that Imolites, irrespective of parties, are tired of what I might call traditional politicians. They are looking for somebody that is just a technocrat in politics, and that's what I represent.
But why do you even think you have a chance or you will win this poll? Because if you look at how the whole thing is structured now, you're trying to unseat the ruling party, the government of the day. Then you also do have Labour Party. Then you have the PDP, and you are also in the fray. So if all of those members of opposition gather together, they'll just end up splitting the votes, and then the ruling party just walks back into government house.
There have been a lot of permutations, just like you said, and a lot of people have been saying that there's going to be division of votes because of different parties trying to face the government in power, the party in power. But what I'm trying to tell and say is that from what is on the ground, it's going to be a very interesting contest because every 4 of the candidates are quite formidable. And I tell you, I have an edge over all the candidates that are contesting.
And the edge you have is what precisely, General?
The edge is the massive support I've been receiving from Imolites who want an end to insecurity in the state, who believe that I have the capacity, that I have the contact, I have the reach, I have the temperament to engage and end insecurity in Imo State. That is where my power base lies. And everywhere I go, people have been talking about that, and I've been educating people on ways of ending insecurity in Imo State, and by extension, Ali.
What precisely would you say is a challenge of insecurity in Imo State? What has singled out Imo, I mean, of the many states in the southeast for this particular security challenge?
The main challenge I can say is that you cannot use threats. You cannot use arrogance. You cannot use guns. You cannot use bullets to resolve conflicts. You must always come to the negotiating table and apply well-established, rules of engagement. You have to negotiate. You have to pacify. You have to reintegrate into the society. And luckily, some of these are young men and women who are, who are in a protesting or creating issues. They don't hold any extreme ideological views. So it will be very, very easy, to bring them out from wherever they are and engage them in proper conflict resolution mechanism. It has worked elsewhere in the world. It worked, like in Sierra Leone, it worked in Liberia. So I believe in power of engagement, constructive engagement. So if that is applied, I believe that Imo State, which has become the hotbed of insecurity, will be handled. Also, there has been a lot of insinuations that the government in power in Imo State, they are somehow fueling insecurity in the state. Like what happened recently where a candidate was openly prevented from going to attend the church service. That is highly condemnable in strong terms. So there must be level playing ground for people to exercise their freedom of movement, freedom of expression.
How has that been a problem for you? Have you experienced it anywhere, this issue of a level playing field?
It's work in progress. It's everywhere, but we continue to, meander through the obstacles. A lot of obstacles have been placed on the way, but we've been meandering it. The field is supposed to be level, but it's not level.
Can you share with us some of the challenges that you have faced?
Some of the challenges I can say I've faced, not really much because I've taken my time to make sure I work within the law, is some actions that the government of the day has taken to make sure that other parties are not visible, like the high signage fee of 54 million, and that limits you from, branding your vehicles, mounting your billboards, and all that stuff. So when you come into Imo State, you think that it's one party that is running for the election, because the billboards are everywhere. So that's a major challenge.
But in the area of security and in other areas, you haven't faced any challenges?
Personally, I've not.
Okay, but tell us,
but it's not that it's not there. Personally, I've not.
Because you have raised this issue of insecurity and you've said that that is your greatest selling point, the fact that people think that you might be able to combat insecurity. Now, if this is such a big problem, how much of a challenge do you think this is going to be as security deploys for election and also as the umpire, INEC, deploys for the election come Saturday?
It is my belief that INEC and the security agencies will perform optimally and creditably. Why? This is a stand-alone election, just 3 states being covered. So I expect that we will have adequate manpower to make sure that there's no breach in security. And I expect too that INEC should perform their work in line with the law, without bias, without fear. So we want a credible election to take place in Imo State, and that's what I stand for.
And you have every belief, anyway, you already said that. But, you know, General, do indulge me this morning. I mean, I was taking a look at your name, and I'm not Igbo. I don't know how it's pronounced. But I've looked at your biography, and it does show that you are indeed from Imo State. You have a very interesting name that could have been situated in the southwest of Nigeria. Has this provided any challenges for you in terms of marketing yourself as a bona fide, maybe not just resident, but as an indigene of Imo State?
At a little extent, yes, because when you see the name, you look at it that this is a name that's supposed to have originated from the southwest, that's the Yoruba area of Nigeria. And I started my military career as an officer in Ijebu. So I found it very, very difficult to convince, you know, friends, associates, that I was not from Ogun State. But actually, I am from Imo State, Mbise Nation to be particular.
Very interesting. So how come you ended up with this name?
That's my grandfather's name, Ogunewe. Fight is my annoyance. That's the meaning in Igbo.
I see. Oh, well, I'm sure even our viewers too will be educated on that. But I want to believe that the people of Imo will certainly, you know, recognize that name, and, you know, it's not proving any challenge for you on the field, or is it?
It has not proven any challenge because of my pedigree. My father is one of the most, you know, distinguished, you know, people from Imo State. He was a military officer, the 34th Nigerian to be commissioned as an officer, Colonel Davidson de Ogunewe. So the name reverberates within the Igbo nation. So only the new generation that when they look at the name, they will, where is it from? But I am from Imo State.
Would you also say that your pedigree, even though you have said that well, that's also a selling point for you, and that you're leveraging that to say, look, I will be able to tackle the issue of insecurity in Imo and solve it? But oftentimes some people have, you know, second thoughts about having generals in democratic spaces. They think that it will be very difficult for them to fit in. Have you faced questions in this regard?
I've not faced any question in this regard because of my nature, and I've not actually. So, but somehow some people look at how can a military officer operate in a democratic setting, and I tell them that the most democratic institution is the military. Things are organized, things are regulated to an extent, but you have your freedom of expression. That's what people don't know. The military, to me, is the most democratic institution you can get anywhere. Leave the laws, leave the orders, leave the regulations guiding us.
Okay. Well, I know my colleague Ayo has questions for you as well. Please go ahead, Ayo.
Well, it's good to see you again, Major General Ogunewe, retired. Now I'm well educated about how to sound the name. There's something on your one of your campaign posters, or you know, online that says, and I quote, "I will restore security, peace, and sanity in Imo State to foster an enabling business and investment-friendly environment." People would say every politician makes such a promise. Why should the people of Imo State believe you?
People of Imo State should believe me. First and foremost, I'm not a professional politician. I'm a technocrat in politics. And before I make that statement, I've looked at the feasibility, I've looked at the methodology, I've looked at the environment before I made that statement. And I repeat and I say that, one, that security is an important commodity that you will notice its importance when it is absent, just like in Imo State today. So without it being tackled, nothing can move forward. And just like I've said, that insecurity is like cancer. If you don't mitigate it, it will consume you. So my passion, and I will use all the knowledge I have to make sure that I bring insecurity in Imo State to an end. And the peculiar nature of Imo State, that Imo State shares border with the 4 remaining southeastern states. And if you see where this insecurity is happening, is most of them are higher in these border towns. So it takes a very good methodology that I've always explained to people how insecurity would be tackled. And a lot of people believe in what I've told them.
Well, General, one of the challenges that I have personally seen governments at various levels have is that of communicating with the people. There's always that distance. Even the previous conversation we had with someone from Imo State also said the same thing. There's that trust deficit in governance. How will you reduce the gap between the government and the governed? What will be your communication module? How frequently will you communicate with the people so that they can feel the impact of your governance?
What is said is true. And I just believe that being in government does not make you to be high up there, because government is for the people. So if you are a leader or a governor in a state, I believe that you should be able to reach the people you are governing. They should be able to ask you questions. You could create, a monthly media chat where you interact with them. They'll ask you questions. Just be frank. And you should be able to move around the state freely with minimum security. And you begin to build very good trust that this person, what he said is what he's doing. But where you come in as a governor, what is more important to you is your own individual security than the collective security. It becomes a problem. People will see you very far, distant from them. But when you see collective security as paramount, you reduce what I call individual security. And people will flow and believe in you. I will tell you something that there's a governor I so much admire. That's the governor Zulum of Borno State. When he came in, Borno State was at the height of insecurity. But he staked his life. He was not in an armored vehicle. He tried to engage. He's trying to reach. People were even telling him that, look, you are endangering your life. He said, no, I believe in collective security. And to achieve that, I have to risk my life. And if you look at what is happening today, he has, to a great extent, achieved peace in Borno State.
All right.
That is the kind of governor I would like to emulate.
All right. It's back to you, Chamberlain.
All right. Thank you very much indeed. Well, General, we have to wish you all the best for the forthcoming elections, but it's almost done now. It's just a couple of days away. So we wish all of the candidates, and like we always say, may the best man win, and hope there will be a peaceful election in the state, General. Thank you for joining us today, and all the best to you.
Thank you very much. I prefer a peaceful election too.